Send. Okay, I think that works. I never really know, like, if it works. I think because like Facebook and the internet, but who the hell knows, right? I'm super psyched that you're on, by the way. I think it's really, really
Oh
cool.
yeah,
Like,
that
I saw you dropped like a couple of videos in the public group, which I thought were like pretty useful. Um, and like I've seen your orange shirt more times than I care to admit. Like that's like your thing. Like I've got the butt, right? You've got like
yeah.
orange shirts, so I'm super psyched that you're on.
And
Uh,
the little team chat here on our end, the chat is in orange for Be Live. So
Perfect. That's how it's
it's meant
supposed
to
to be,
be.
right? It's meant to be. Let me just check the public group and make sure that we're live and all that fun stuff. Yeah, we're live. Super cool. Yeah, so let's get this party started. I don't ever have like an introduction or anything like that. Like, some people have like the wow and the bang and they do that. I don't do that at all. But I figure like we just jump right in. I'm Jeff, you're Matt, you do restaurants. You've got a pretty cool story, ranging from, well, like what's your journey been like? You started off in radio and then you did RVs with your dad and your brother, or was it the other way around, or how did that get started?
No, so it started around the same time. I got in the radio back in 1999 selling advertising. And about 3 months in, my brother was coming back from the Navy from San Diego. My dad's like, hey, I got an idea.
Mhm.
You know, let's do something part time. And so we literally, in September of 99, I bought a book on Adobe Page Mill on how to build websites and to put
This
it in
was
perspective.
this was like back when you had to code, right?
Yeah. And put it in perspective, I'm not a tech guy. Like I used to make fun of my wife in college because I called her the email girl because if I couldn't find her in college, we were engaged. She was in this thing called the email lab, which was 97, 98. It wasn't a big deal.
Right.
And so here I am buying a book on how to build a website, and I built it. And the company went live October of 99. And for 4 years, I did radio advertising, and we built this boat dealership from 0 to 15 million. And then I left and ran the boat and RV dealership. And then after about 5 years of that, realized I hated employees.
Yep.
We did that for 10 years total and decided in 2007 to go into consulting. And everybody knew me from marketing because I had been around at that point for about 10 years in the market. And I still stayed in contact with my clients in marketing. And when I sold, one of the reasons I had a lot of contacts too, when I sold radio advertising, my dad taught me how to sell correctly. I didn't sell. It was I would walk in, I'd have a conversation. We'd have 2 or 3 meetings. If it made sense, I'd present them something. If not, we became friends, and that's how it went. And so when I got into in 07 and 08, I guess not to get real in depth in there, but during 02 to 06, we became really big on the internet. We were Yamaha brought me in. We were one of the top 3 dealers of Yamaha Marine, their outboard motors. And they brought me in. And we were part of a top 20 group called the Symposium 20. And since we were actually beating Yamaha on SEO back then, which I had no clue what the hell it was, I'll tell that story. That's kind of a funny story to it. But they got me into doing consulting for other boat dealerships. They said, Matt, can you, because as the tides rise, we all get better. All the boats rise. And so I would go around and help boat dealerships do what we did. And I realized I enjoyed it. And in 07 is when I'm like, you know what? My dad wanted to retire. My brother didn't really care. I hated having 45 employees because I was a terrible boss. We had a consultant come in and look at everybody who had ever been fired. And there was one common trait. They were hired by me. So I decided to go into consulting. And that's where it is. I started off in 07, late 07 and early in 08 doing Facebook advertising consulting.
So before we go into that, you started off in the radio space. What was that like? Were you like selling ads? Were you trying to figure out why they should buy ads? Or you were like a salesperson? Like what was like your official title at the radio station, I guess, right?
Official title was account executive, and then they would change it like every 6 months to something that looked trendy, like marketing specialist. Like now, the friends of mine that are in radio have these look like they're doctors. It's like, dude, you sell radio ads. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But it was hardcore because there was probably 15 to 20 stations in Cincinnati where I'm at. Mm-hmm. And you had also 15 to 20, about 10 TV stations, and then 15 or 20 other mass media type companies. And you were just all fighting for the same car dealers and restaurants. And I made my niche a little differently in that I looked at it. I followed a guy named Tom Hopkins, who I think is probably dead by now, but he was a sales trainer back in the 80s and 90s and early in 2000s on how to sell real estate. Well, his whole thing was understanding your path, understand your journey of, okay, if you want to make $100,000, don't go sell 100 clients that you make $1,000 off of. Make sell 20, you make $5,000 off of, and 10 this or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I realized there was a big niche that nobody was calling on the small mom and pops. Everybody was fighting over all the car dealers and the guy that had 10 restaurants and the guy that had 10 TV repair shops, whatever. And so I went out and started calling on the people that were small. And it just led me down a path to where within probably 18 months, I was the number one guy in all of our 4 stations, income wise. Went from 0 to about 150 grand, I guess 164 my second year.
Yeah.
And it was just cold calling, knocking on doors. And then after about a year of that, I got to a point where I had such a Rolodex. I had bugged this shit out of everybody in the city that was little, that by year 2, it was autopilot, that my phone rang every day. And I'll tell you what's funny. You know what my biggest form of marketing back then was? I had automated fax set up on
automated fax. All right.
Yeah, we would have these big sales blitzes. The radio stations, what they'd call them one-day sales, where we'd say, okay, first quarter, like right now is traditionally the worst time of year for radio advertising sales. And so, because people haven't finished their budgets yet, they haven't placed media. The winter in Cincinnati, it's winter, it's cold, nobody buys anything. And so in November, we'd have these one-day sales, and all my colleagues would spend 2 weeks hammering the streets and working on these one-day sales and prepping people for that one day, the week of Thanksgiving, that we would lower our rates and sell this big package.
Yep.
Well, I figured out how to use ACT from day one. And so ACT, I don't think it's still around, but back then it was like a kind of like Salesforce today, like an automation tool and a CRM. And I figured out you could do automated faxes. And so literally when this stuff would come out, I had it to where I could fax 800 people right away, and all personalized, all mail merge. Letters would go out as well. And I would destroy all these sales because that, like 8 a.m., we'd launch them. And by 9 o'clock, I'd be done with 100 grand on the books, and people would be struggling by 4 to get 10 grand.
So your philosophy, and I guess this really like guided your journey, was saying like, yeah, you could fight to tooth and nail over one guy that has 10 locations, but everybody's fighting over that one guy who's 10 locations. What if I just got 10 guys with 1 location each? Isn't that the same thing? And so you ended up picking your battle and realizing that if you're just fighting where people weren't, you just win 9 times out of 10. Is that like how that like works like in the radio space?
No, and nobody calls on them. I mean, it's imagine this is I'll do it. I always do it the other way. I always do it women. Let's just say you're the ugly dude.
Yeah.
And no girl will ever pick calls on you to go on a date.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden the girl that calls her, like, hell yeah, I'm free.
Yeah, let's do something. Yeah. And
so in this case, what was happening was I noticed like our radio station back then, the average spend was about 3 to 4 grand a month. And this is 20 years ago. It's probably still 6 to 10 grand a month now, but 3 to 4 grand a month. Well, a lot of like there's one place that always comes to mind because I know the guy still. It's called Ferrari's Little Italy. It's a 1-location Italian restaurant in Madeira, which is a suburb of Cincinnati. They don't have 4 grand a month to spend.
Right.
But I went to them and they had badass food. And I said, you know what? I've got clients I like to entertain. What if you guys spent $400 a month cash and gave me $400 a month in gift cards?
Yep.
That way I could entertain my clients. And what we'll do with that $400, instead of watering you down, people eat Friday and Saturday nights, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, let's run your commercials on Friday and Saturday nights, 6 to 7 p.m. That's all we're going to do.
Yeah.
Because you can't afford to be on Monday through Friday in the daytimes. But those times you can. Well, they were cool with that because $400 a month to them wasn't a ton of money, but it was enough money that they were invested in. But also by having the trade, now all of a sudden they had $800 in commercials. So every Friday and Saturday night they were on 10 times.
Yeah. And
it worked. They heard it constantly. People were like, I'm on my way home. I heard Ferraris. I called the wife. We came down.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I'm the only guy ever called on these people. And so literally, Tom Gill Chevrolet in Florence might get 20 cold calls a week, might get 20 stop bys a week. Ferraris gets 1, me.
Yep.
And I went out and found those relationships, and I became the king of what we called direct selling back then. Because back then they had 2 things: agencies and direct sales.
Yeah.
Well, the agencies, the Chevrolet dealer had an agency out of Atlanta, typically, or New York or Chicago, and you would get paid 8 to 10% commission on that. Well, the direct company, the Ferrari's Little Italy, I got 22% commission on.
Yeah.
So I also did the math and said, okay, if I give Ferrari's at 400 or I get Tom Gill at 2,500, the commission's about the same.
Yep.
And so I went out and got 40 of those little dudes, and I dominated it. Plus I became the trade king because I had literally, you see the mafia, how they pull out the stacks of money, the drug dealers. I had that in trade at every restaurant in town.
So my dad, who runs a newspaper, like he just really enjoys the trade part. So like he'll sign like something like huge thing, and it's like, it doesn't matter how much the money is. Look at all these gift certificates I've got. And he's got like a huge stack in like a white envelope. And the way that they give you the money is they're like, come on in the back. And you got to like walk in the back and they hand you an envelope and they're like, this is for you. And you got to put it like, you got to stuff it in your suit jacket, right? And it sticks out. It looks like a wad of cash. It's really like $350, but it's so cool, right?
Yeah.
And so that kind of like, so that guided your journey in the radio space. That helped you understand, like, you don't have to fight the big dogs. You can just make the same amount of money by winning where people aren't. But while this was happening, you're doing the RV thing with your dad and your brother, I think. And it was, again, the same kind of like being ahead of the curve and all that. You bought the book, you built the webpage, and you built it like to $12 or $15 million, right?
Yeah, we did our peak in 2017. We did 15.4 million. We did that both 16 and 17. But yeah, and I did that at nights. So like literally end of 99, all of 2000, 2001, and most of 2003, I had both jobs. And I would go home I would work radio. Typically, I was at the station by 7 a.m. and I would leave by 6 or 7 p.m. And I would go home and I would cold call. My whole thing was we alternated nights. We would cold call people out of the boat magazines. They had boats for sale, boats and campers, and we sold them on consignment. So I would cold call them and say, hey, we've got this website, outdoorconsignments.com, and we sell consignment inventory or outdoor inventory on a consignment basis, golf carts, motorhomes, campers, ATVs, boats. And we want to list it with you. For 4 or 5 months, we just had the website. We didn't have a location.
Yeah.
And so they would give me the information, we'd list it. And the sexy part about that from the standpoint of business was that you could save sales tax. You could get a warranty. The consumer could get financing now because it was going through a dealer. And we just built it up, and it went from, the first year as a hobby, and I worked every weekend with it. And the next thing we know, 2 or 3 years later, we got a 7-acre store and employees and all sorts of new headaches.
So you were calling boat magazines, right? And the only boat magazine I know of is Rob Report, but that's not like the boat magazine you're going for, right?
This was Boat Trader. Boat Trader, RV Trader, Motorcycle Trader, ATV Trader. We would call the consumers. They had an ad listed in there for the unit for sale.
Yeah. And you just call and say like, hey, we want to sell it for you, but you don't have to take delivery. They don't have to drop it off. If you got somebody to buy it, then you arrange all the details, right?
Yep.
Got it. So
and back then, people knew what websites were, but nobody had them.
Right.
And so me calling up and saying, I'm from this website and here's what we do, and go to the website right now on your internet. And it really did it. And then after about 5 or 6 months like that, we ended up getting a location, and we had 2 options. You could list it online, or you could list it online and in person. Yeah. And if it was in person on our lot, we had a fee we charged every month to have it there, and worked out pretty well.
Very cool. And so you started with radio, did the RV, and I'm seeing a trend where like you're honing like a sales skill set about like making the calls, putting the effort. When did you transition into restaurant Facebook ads agency? Like, how did that happen? Was it like I'm hearing like the 1999s and like 2008, is that part of that trend, or is there something?
No, that didn't happen until 2015. And quick story on how I figured out the internet, because this has got a kind of funny story to it.
Yeah.
Back in 2002, I want to say is about the year it happened. We had at this point been real big on the internet, but not obviously as big as we got. But the guy who sold me the book, his name's Glenn Warner. He actually owns a 3D printing company in town now. But it was kind of funny because every month he'd come in and we'd have a new virus, and it'd like $2,000 every month for him to fix our computers. I'm like, dude, Glenn, I love you. You're my buddy. I think you're planting these viruses. And he's like, no, I'm not planting viruses. I'm like, well, prove it to me. He's like, okay, we're going to put the system in. But at that point, we had about 30 or 40 employees. He's like, every employee is going to have a login, and they're going to know that when they go to a computer, they have to use their username and their password, and we're going to see where this virus is coming from.
Was this like Windows NT or something like that?
Yeah, it was this. And so he did it. And about a month later, this smoking hot 21-year-old blonde that worked at our cash register was apparently downloading lesbian porn.
Yep.
And whole other story, because now I actually caught 2 guys breaking into the employee lockers to get her information to call her on a date. But that's a whole different story. But anyways, he comes to me about a month after that, and he plops this big, I said Plaps, this big binder on my desk. And he's like, hey, I want to show you this. I'm like, what? And he goes, well, I'm going to warn you, your dad's going to want to fire everybody. You're going to love it. He said, this is the log of the internet. This is the log of every website your employees went to the last couple months when we were doing this analysis trying to find the virus. He's like, I think you'll love it, Matt, because we had a rule. You couldn't work at our dealership unless you could prove you were an outdoorsman. You had to be a hunter, ATV, fisherman, something like that.
Yeah.
And so everybody there was avid outdoorsman. And he said, so we need to, in order for them to work here, they had to have that. He said, well, I categorized all of these websites that they went to. And you'll look at it and you'll notice they're all chat rooms, which what today is now groups like you've got on Facebook.
Yeah, like an AOL chat room or something.
Yeah, they were all chat rooms like Bass Boat Central, Fishing.com, Airstream Forums, Arctic Cat ATV, Hunting.com. And so I started looking at these chat rooms. And the funny thing was, now keep in mind, this is, I guess, about 15 years ago, probably that ballpark. None of them knew how to sell advertising. So I started looking at these and going, man, these are freaking gold mines. This one website, Bass Boat Central, guy named Al out of Canada owned it, had 22,000 active daily bass boat owners.
It's like
I'm like, well,
Facebook.
We're a bass boat dealership. We just need to sell about 200 a year. There's 22,000 of these dudes on here. We could probably do well. So I reached out and I bought advertising packages from all of them. Like Al's was $600 a year. We're the exclusive Triton bass boat dealership. And the only rules were our guys had to comment every day, every couple hours, education. When somebody asked something about their Yamaha motor, one of our guys had to get in there and go, hey, yeah, your motor should be running this RPM, not this. Couldn't sell, had to have our website link, had to have our real name, like Sean, who's one of our salesmen then. He was like Fat Sean 76. He had to be Sean Weeda and had to have our logo. I'm like, okay, cool. So I bought like 10 sponsorships, and I called the salesman at one time, like, man, I got a big problem. They're like, what? I'm like, well, they had already forgotten that I knew all this stuff. I'm like, well, we bought this sponsorship with a site called Fishing.com. Like, oh, shit, I'm on it every day. I'm like, you are? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I need. Well, so I did that. So I ended up tricking about 15, 20 of our employees to every hour on the hour go on these websites, these chat rooms, and answer questions about motor performance and boat performance and props and trolling motors and fishing, all that crap. Well, about a year into that, we always broke the rules with Yamaha. We were a big Yamaha dealer, and every one of our manufacturers, we skirted the rules.
Yeah.
We would sell kind of outside of our territory, but there weren't real, like, you couldn't do it. You just weren't supposed to. But I'm like, you know what? If I could sell 50 more motors and make another $100,000, I don't care if the guy's in Idaho, we're doing it.
Yeah.
And so we always broke the rules a little, skirted them, I guess you could say. But we were a big enough dealer that they didn't care. And so one day we're in Nashville. I'll never forget it. We're in Nashville, Tennessee. A guy named Ben Jarrett is the head of marketing for Yamaha Motor at the time. Comes up, and he's like, Matt, I got to show you something. And this is back, I want to say around 2003. And he takes me over to this kiosk, and he goes to this website, no shit, called google.com. I had no clue what it was.
Yeah.
Types in google.com, goes in there, types in Yamaha 4-stroke motors. And Matt Plapp, Plapp's Pro Outdoors comes number one, Yamaha like number two. And I'm like, I didn't do it. He's like, yeah,
that's not me.
I'm like, no, I didn't. He's like, dude, you did. I'm like, okay. He goes, you're not in trouble. I'm like, okay, I probably did it. He's like, how did you do it? I'm like, I don't know. What the hell's Google?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's a search engine site. We don't really know it yet. He's like, I need you to figure out how you're so prevalent because, Matt, we've done searches. Everything that we type in bass boat wise, you come up.
Yeah.
And so I went back and asked Glenn, and Glenn explained SEO to me. I had no clue. And he explained SEO. He's like, Matt, Yamaha's got a website with like 10 pages. That's it.
Yeah.
Your company, Plapp Pro Outdoors, has 20 employees on 20 chat rooms 100 times a day chatting about all this fishing crap that is all relevant, and you have all these inbound links. You're the master.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got into consulting. Yamaha at that point said, hey, will you show other dealers how to do this and show us? And I little by little started doing more of that. And then by 07, 08, my clients from radio were calling me saying, hey, can you come consult for us on this? And I would go in, and it was kind of, to me, it was like, I called it the mobile marketing director package. I'd go in, and there'd be a client of mine that had, a car dealership, and he's spending $30,000 a month on radio ads across 6 stations. And it's the same commercial has been running for 2 years. I'm like, dude, if I can get you pay me $5,000 a month, I'll spend the same exact $30,000. I'll get the commission from the radio station, and then I'll help you have a better result as well, because I'll probably get you $40,000 in the radio ads for 30 because I'm better at buying it. And that's how I created my agency. And then to get to the point we're at now, we had at our peak back in 2015, I was about just me and one person that worked for me, Ashley, who still does. She's worked with me for 8 years now. We had 34 clients from like 30 industries.
That's so cool.
And I had 9 restaurants. One client had 9 restaurants. I guess 3 clients had 9 restaurants. They were kind of connected to some extent, but not the same companies.
Yeah.
And I had started experimenting with running ads to get people to do stuff. And I couldn't get these guys convinced. We were spending at our peak for them about $5,000 a month on Facebook ads for the one location they had, or the one brand that had 3 locations.
Yeah.
And they kept saying, Matt, well, we don't know that it's working. I'm like, well, dude, I can tell you it's working. I mean, everything I was seeing back then in 2015 was, 14, 15 was great. And they wouldn't let me do anything besides just run ads. And finally, they gave me the authorization on National Pretzel Day in April of 2015.
National Pretzel Day.
That is a very, very near and dear holiday to my heart now.
Yeah.
And so they gave me the authorization to do a half-price pretzel deal. They had this amazing pretzels they sell for $10. Pretzels and beer cheese. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. And they're like, hey, that's our number one selling item. We're going to do on this. It's on a Sunday. We have no sales on Sundays. So let's go ahead and do a promotion you've been wanting to do. You show us how cool Facebook is. It ain't going to work. Well, we did 18 grand in sales off that promotion on three $50 ads. So we spent 150 and they get trackable 18,000 in sales. And they went, oh shit. Well, can we start making up holidays? So we did National Sauerkraut Ball Day and National Beer Cheese Day. And so then we started doing these promotions. And that's when I realized that was the first time I had been able in my, at that point, I don't know, 17, 18 years in the marketing business, been able to show tangible results. I mean, we all kind of said, like when I sold radio advertising, that was the scariest part. When I'd have clients spending good money with me, I never walked in and said, how are the ads doing? Because he didn't know.
Yep.
I didn't know. I didn't want to know if he actually did know because I didn't want to lose my client. Well, this was the first time I could really say, look, we built this audience. We spent money to talk to the audience. They came in and spent money. So that's when I started looking at the restaurant world. Well, what I found out, like experimenting, was I went to the client after about 2 months of doing a lot of these. I said, guys, we've got to change up one big problem here is that there's a possibility that a lot of the people that are coming in every week for these offers are the same people. Yeah. We need to be able to get people to opt in and be able to exclude people so that they don't come in every damn Sunday for the promotion. Yeah. We already have them. So let's find a way to do it. And so I literally started doing with landing pages and then email. So they'd go to a landing page, they'd opt in, they'd get put into a drip cycle, they'd get this offer, this would expire. And it worked really well in 15. And then in 2016, we switched it to, what did we go to 16? We tied in some landing pages and texting. And then early 2017, I had a couple restaurants come to me. And at this point, I still was just same clients, 30 plus clients doing our thing. And we had been really heavily focused on Facebook with all of them. And then around 2017, this other restaurant group came to me and said, hey, can you do what you're doing for them for me? Yeah. And I'm like, well, no, I can't. You're not a client. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, they're a client of my agency. That's just a service my agency does as part of our agreement. Yeah. Well, I just want that service. And dumb shit, it never occurred to me that I could sell that product. Right. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So we literally signed up a couple restaurants and started doing that. And that's when I had started working the summer of 2016. I had started working with Billy Jean out of California. Yep. Familiar with the name. It was between him and Dan Henry. You had to like pick someone to follow, right? And so Billy Jean was number 2, but yeah. You racist. No, I'm just kidding. I always tell Billy I'm the poor white Billy. But he's like I think he successfully dominates YouTube for Facebook ad agencies. Like better than anybody else. And he just got this new studio and he makes an F ton of money, but yeah, go on. Oh yeah, no, he's legit. He's a good dude. Yeah. But yeah, so I started following him. It was kind of funny. I had went to, I get my years mixed up. I went to Traffic and Conversions that year. 2000, I guess it was February of 2017. Yeah. And I had went to Traffic and Conversions and I had a one-to-one meeting with him. And we're at his office talking, and I had never even thought about at this point still really doing it big. I still had my agency and I had a handful of restaurants. I had just added a couple of restaurants. And he's like, well, Matt, why don't you create this as a product and sell this to restaurants nationwide? I'm like, dude, I'm not driving to all these cities all over the country and selling this. And he's like, dumbass, just sell it online. Like people call you like this, a video call. And I'm like, oh, it never occurred to me because I had always radio thinking affecting Facebook ad. Yeah. It had always been for me that every one of my clients I personally knew. I had walked in their business. I met with them every month. Yeah. And so him and I talked and he helped me come up with a game plan in the spring of 16. I guess it would have been 2017 is when I really looked at how to take this out to a lot of restaurants and we started doing it. So you were talking to Billy Jean when he was like first getting started, like the beginning of his hockey stick, right? Because I remember he had just
he just got that place in San Diego, and he had that like big spinning thing with his face in the middle of it. Like, so that's you were getting trained and tutored by right around that time, or before he like started that hockey stick?
I think it was before. It was a little before, you know.
Yeah, this must have been when he was like just moving out of his like parents' house or something like that, right?
He had the office that you're talking about, and I think I was about 3 months after he launched his first big program.
Gotcha.
I want to say that in early 16 is when he really launched, because he was up even to sometime in late 2017. He had clients for his agency. Now he's just to a point where his business is training. He hasn't. I think when I talked to him last couple months ago, he was telling me his only client for their agency is really Damon John's company.
Yep.
That they don't do anything else now. But about that time, and that was really where my mindset started to shift, because up to that point, I had never been around other agency owners. I mean, in Cincinnati, now I know a handful because they're in my program, but I had never met an agency in Cincinnati that did what I did. Everybody I knew was either a giant agency at the top of a 10th floor building in downtown that had 200 clients and charged way too damn much, and would say, we made the blue on this phone blue because 34-year-old millennials will identify with the blue. I never bought into that shit. And so at that point, I had never met people. So I started meeting all these people and really started crafting my mind and realized that, man, I've got, think about it. I had at one point 30 different industries that I would literally, and this is what Billy says, like, Matt, you leave a vacuum store and you go to a restaurant. You leave a restaurant, you go to a car dealer. You leave a car dealer, you go to an RV dealer. Nothing you've learned or helped them with transfers.
Yep.
And so you're just recreating the wheel, and it was. And so it got to a point where in 2016, I realized, 2016, I realized, okay, I can change this up. And then 2017 was when I really said, okay, I'm going to have my agency and I'm going to have restaurants. And then in, mid 2017 is where I just went full force. I mean, I kept still trying to create content for multiple industries, and I realized that I couldn't do it anymore. And so mid 2017 to now, that's basically what I've done, is just create his restaurants.
So that's where you really said, all right, I'm going to do restaurants. I'm going to be a restaurant guy. It's going to be restaurants all the way, after you did like 29 years of everything, right? On the 30th year, like, I finally figured out what I want to do, parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that when you started landing restaurants as you expected, or like, let me ask you this. So like, how did you get your first 5 restaurants? Did you like talk to them, just so many case studies that they were calling you? Like, what was that conversation?
I was fortunate. One, I was fortunate that I already had 9 restaurants of my agency.
Yeah.
So I already had them as clients, and that was one thing I was able to experiment with. I was able to, my product I call is the ROI engine. I was able to build it on their budgets and really watch each location be different and test free appetizer here, free appetizer with purchase here, and get all that. And then once I did that, what really changed how I got my first restaurant clients after, outside of my traditional clients, was they all saw my content, was that I was constantly putting things out in case studies and showing ads and showing what I'm doing. And I've had enough time in the industry that I knew a lot of people. I mean, I had a text message 2 days ago from a lady that I've known for 10 years who asked me how my clients are hiring if she owns a restaurant. Yeah. I've never called her about her restaurant. I've never tried to sell her. I never will.
Yeah.
Eventually she will call me and go, I want this program. And that's fine. If not, if it does, but I don't cold call. I don't really knock on doors. But a lot of people started reaching out to me. And I started also putting myself strategically in the right places. I went to restaurant trade shows. I went to restaurant events. I network with restaurant owners. I interview restaurant owners. And so I knew that if I put myself in the right audience, that the right people would start seeing me, and that would lead me down the right path.
Here's something that blows my mind that comes like natural to me. So like, my parents are like old school, like, I'm building a business how they would expect. Like, go talk to a normal human being. Like, you can't make money by clicking dials and dashboards on a computer. And you can if you're in e-commerce, right? But you can't do that if you're doing local lead gen, normal business stuff. Like, though, people that will buy your Facebook ads don't exist on Facebook right now. They know of Facebook. They want the advantages that Facebook can deliver. They just need somebody to talk to them in person, like, and figure that out with them. And once I took that, like, just that idea, I started meeting, greeting normal human beings. I had people signing up for like 1,000 a month, 2,000 a month, 3,000 a month, sometimes 4,000 a month, because I was like the only person not cold emailing them, not cold calling them, not like, hey, I'm a random person on the internet, give me money. It's like, no, I'm going to stop by, say hi. We're going to have a conversation, figure out the results. Like normal business stuff, right?
Yep.
Which apparently like has left this generation, right? Like they just don't. I don't know. That's how my parents like taught me, right?
You brought something. You brought something up that I always crack up too. Is I don't even mind the cold calling aspect if people are doing it correctly. I mean, cold email. I don't know if you noticed, I also own a gym. And we have a 11,000 square foot gym. And I've gotten every cold email you can ever imagine from every Facebook marketer, even people that I know. Mm-hmm. And what cracks me up is that if they were literally just to Google CrossFit the Tracks, my name would come up. And if you're to Google my name, my cell phone's everywhere. It's the only phone number I've ever had. Yeah. And so all they have to do is call me and go, hey, Matt, I see you own the Tracks. I got an agency. I'm working with CrossFit gyms. I'm not really looking to sell you. I want to get your feedback. What works, what doesn't work. If you were me, how would you approach people? Nobody has ever called me. Like nobody's even actually ever called me to say, hey, I do Facebook ads for CrossFit gyms. I get the same lame ass, lazy cold email that they got from somebody's cold email course. And I get like 10 of them a week. And I got 2 today. And it cracks me up because I look at them. I'm like, if this dude would just call me, I would answer the phone. And I'm on I have access to all my clients' emails. They just take it and figure it out. I was like, okay, fine. And I swear every time there's a conference, and whether it was like AdCon or traffic and conversions, ClickFunnels is coming up, there's always this like huge burst of like cold emailing. It's the same cold emails every time. And I open up and go, delete, spam, the same ones. And like, apparently like everyone's pissed because D7 Lead Finder doesn't work anymore. I'm like, it does. You just keep sending cold emails. You can just call like a normal human being. So it's really interesting, Brother. We're like at the halfway point. So I want to make sure that we like take care of the bullet points. You know what I mean? Like, cool. So one of the bullet points is like how he landed his first 5 clients and how you can too in half the time. So like you got your first 5 clients, you just had the reputation, you're doing everything as public as you could. You're just networking, schmoozing, and rubbing elbows. If somebody were starting a Facebook ad agency, trying to get their first restaurant client, what should they be doing right and what should they not be doing wrong? Okay, so number 1, they should join a BNI group. Mm-hmm. They should join a networking group that puts them in the room with 20 to 30 like-minded professionals that already have relationships, because that's where your business is going to come from. My business came from early on, and even to this day, referrals and people who knew Matt Plapp. And I use this analogy all the time, is that, here's what happens. Here's the difference. People walk into a bar and they walk up to Facebook marketers, or at least people that want to have an agency. I hear this a lot. They walk in, you don't walk into a bar and go, excuse me, ladies, I'm single. I want to have a baby in 9 months.
Are you sure that's what I've been doing? And it hasn't I don't know, maybe I'm doing it wrong. Yeah, maybe I need to change my script, right?
Yeah. And so I always joke, I'm like, that's what we do as advertising salespeople. We reach out to restaurants and it's me, why I'm the greatest, my program works. And I've done this. So I speak from experience. Mm-hmm. I thought, man, Matt Plapp's the greatest. My restaurant program's the greatest. I'm going to call restaurants and I'm going to tell them about it. And I've tried everything you can imagine. That doesn't work. But when I've put myself in front of people and had conversations with them, now all of a sudden it changes up where I'm a colleague of theirs. I'm not a person selling them. It's like me. One of the first things I would tell people is, one, I wouldn't pick a niche early on. I always tell people, find something you're really passionate about. So let's say I just came back from Hawaii. Let's say you're passionate about surfing. Go help surfing companies. Find something you know a lot about that you're not passionate about that you know is decent. And then 2 or 3, find something that you know will have revenue that you might not be passionate about, might not give a shit about, might not know a lot about, but you know that the people are already spending money on Facebook ads. It's an easier sell. And so I would tell them to do that. But I would also say, when you're doing that, put yourself in a room of people who are going to be the right people. And that's why I'm a big fan of networking events, BNI events. I go to the restaurant shows. I've got one in 2 weeks in Columbus. I've got 2 in Vegas. I've got one in Chicago in a couple months. I went to one in Vegas 2 months ago, the National Finance and Development Restaurant Conference. I was the poorest person there. I felt like I was homeless. Yeah. Literally dudes, I kept seeing guys sneeze on $1,000 bills and looking at me like, get out of here. Yeah. I was the only guy that wore the same shirt 3 days in a row. Yeah. At least same color, because I got multiple. But I did get to meet Paul Wahlberg, Mark Wahlberg's brother, the restaurant guy. I interviewed him.
Wahlburgers, yeah.
Yeah, I interviewed him, and cool guy. But I went there because I knew I would be in the rooms with people that were the right people.
Yeah.
I didn't present my product to anybody. I didn't sell. I didn't have a business card.
Yeah.
But I interviewed about 10 different restaurant people, and I made connections. So I think the problem, we're all in a hurry. It's like my restaurant clients. When a restaurant hires us, I tell them, you're signing a year agreement. You didn't get to where you're at right now by doing something for a month. You're not going to get there in a month. The same way with an agency. Put a plan on how you're going to get to where you want to be in 24 months. And 24 months, you've got to do the right things early on. Yeah, you do need to cold call a little. You're going to need to do a cold email, knocking on doors. But if you more consistently, I call them RGAs, revenue generating activities. If you consistently put your name and your face in front of the people who make the right decisions, and you do it in a non-douchebag, salesy way, you'll be in good shape.
You mean I have to go out, meet normal human beings, and be a normal human being person to get normal people wanting to pay me money? Oh my God, Matt! I don't know if I can do that. It's just exhausting, right?
I actually had a guy about 2 months ago who reached out and wanted to know my top ways to get clients, and he's like, "Whoa!" And I told him a couple things, and I pointed him to a video I had already done. He goes, "Well, I just want to run Facebook ads and get people to fill out the form and buy from me." I'm like, "Me too, buddy."
I would also like to put a box with cash in it. Thank you very much. Yeah. So that's number one, go meet real life normal human beings. Was that all 5, or was that just like one of the 4 or 5? Or are you making these up on the spot?
As far as like the top 5 ways to do it?
Yeah. No, I guess like how somebody can land their first restaurant client. Like,
okay.
Go on.
I'd say number 1, you got to put yourself in front of the right people.
Yep.
Restaurant specific. If I was I guess I am an agency, but if I was an agency that needed clients right now, we eat lunch 5-6 times a week.
Yeah.
We eat dinner 5 or 6 times a week. We eat breakfast 5 or 6 times a week. Plan those 15 meals out. I'm in Cincinnati. If I was a new agency, I actually gave a guy this advice about 2 weeks ago who's in Cincinnati. He's in my program. I said, "Hey, here's what I want you to do. I want you to figure out the top 50 restaurants within 30 minutes here that look ideal to you, that are already on, that are spending money on Google, have good websites.
Yep.
Come up with a profile. I want you then to figure out how you're going to eat at each one of them the next month. And you're going to do it every month. And when you go and eat there, you're going to call and go, 'Hey, is the owner here by any chance?' And you can find their name pretty easy. There's this website called Google. And you're going to, when they come out, you're going to introduce yourself, but you're not going to sell them. 'Hey, I'm Matt Plapp. Love your restaurant. Love what you're doing here.' Don't even tell them what the hell you do.
Right.
Just they need to know your name. And then when the conversation is coming to an end, 'Hey, by the way, are you on LinkedIn?' 'Yeah, cool. I'll hit you up.' 'Okay, great.' Boom. You hit them up on LinkedIn. You're connected with them. Yep. They're going to look at your profile. You go in and eat lunch again in a month. 'Hey, what's up, Matt? Hey, how are you? Good, man. What's going on? Hey, I love the new wings. Boom, boom, boom.' They're in their mind waiting for you to sell them something.
Yeah.
Because they've looked at your profile. They know what you do. They're waiting for you to sell them something. Guess what you're not going to do? You're not going to.
Yep.
You have a conversation with them. You're just going to shake their hand, tell them how great their food is, boom, boom, boom. You're going to continue that relationship to where it gets to a point where you have an opportunity to, 'Hey, I want to bounce an idea off you.' And that's when you might show them some information about what you're doing, and you're looking for help on selling other restaurant owners and getting their feedback because I trust you as a friend. That's where you can start having those conversations, because worst case scenario, they're going to give you amazing advice that'll help you get in front of other restaurant owners correctly.
Yep.
Best case scenario, they go, 'Dude, screw me helping you with this. I want somebody to do this for me.' That's how I got my first ever client for my agency back in 2008. A landscaping company came to me in late 2007. It was a friend of my dad's. 'I need a marketing plan.'
Yeah. I
put a plan together for him. I didn't know he was going to hire me. I was doing it free of charge. And he's like, 'Okay, how much is it?' I'm like, 'Well, the budget's right there.' He's like, 'How much for you to do this shit?' And I'm like,
what?
I don't know. I just consult. I don't do this crap. And he's like, 'I want you to do it.' And I'm like, 'Well, let me figure it out.' So I went to my buddy Brennan and Jeff, who own the B&I franchise in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And I said, 'Hey, Jeff Egbers wants to hire me to run his advertising. I need your help. How do I do this?' I said, 'Here's what I'm proposing to him. How would you structure this so that as I grow this, I understand how to charge for this service, that service?' They go, 'Well, we don't know, but we want to hire you for our 3 businesses when you're ready to go. We got about $2,000 a month.' And I mean, I literally was having a conversation with them, but they trusted me. They know, like, and trust is when people buy from you. And so that would be a key element right there, is go visit them. Another key thing I would really hammer them to do is create some type of blog, interview these people, chronicle their journey. I mean, what city are you in?
I'm in Miami, Florida.
Miami, miamistoprestaurants.com. Go buy it. Create a blog and go to restaurants and chronicle your eating. Don't do anything bad. Always be positive, because that's all you want to have is positive vibes. And then go on there and reach out. Hey, I want to interview you for my website. I interview restaurateurs. I'm a big restaurant guy. I love it. I help restaurants with marketing. Be upfront. But I just want to interview you and talk about your wings you got. They're amazing. I did one a couple months ago on shakes, and interviewed a guy on these shakes they have for their company. And now we're meeting. They're becoming a case study client next week. And they have 8 locations, which are no doubt, once this case study's done, because I'm featuring them in my next book, they'll be a client in 2 or 3 months. But I've never asked them. Right. It started with, dude, I saw these new shakes you have. I want to come interview you about these shakes and how restaurants can, I have a consumer side of it, then I have the B2B side. I chop the interview a couple ways.
Absolutely easy, no guilt, top-notch, fantastic way of getting people to say, yes, I want to have a conversation with you, by simply saying, hey, I've got top50restaurantsmiami.com. Let's do an interview about your food. That's an easy way to start a relationship, get them Googling you and looking at you. And it's honest. Yeah, you do it, and you happen to do Facebook ads for restaurants, but you're not talking about Facebook ads for restaurants. Yep. You're talking about their thing, which is super darn cool.
And think about this: the hardest part of getting through, the hardest person to get a hold of at most businesses in an advertising manner, is the decision maker, the owner. They have gatekeepers. Correct. Guess who never gets interviewed for a video? The gatekeeper.
Right.
The owner, I've probably done, if I had to guess, 200 interviews in the past couple of years of restaurateurs. I've maybe had 2 GMs and 1 catering manager. They're all the owners, because they all get egos.
Yep.
And they also don't want anybody else representing their brand. They don't want, their assistant manager with a face tattoo and a big earring in his ear doing the interview. That's not how it is. So that's also another way you get in front of the right people. And then the key element of all that, though, that I would say I guess if this is the 4th item, is don't sell. Have conversations, create relationships, because here's what happens. When you're in front of somebody and you're not selling, their mind is tricked. And they're like, oh, crap, what's going on? And I'll tie this into an example. We had a company we worked with for 6 years, a golf company in Cincinnati. They had 3 retail stores. And the second year we were working with them, their biggest problem was their Christmas sales were terrible. Yeah. They said the reason their Christmas sales were terrible, and this comes down to understanding your client and digging deeper than just running a Facebook ad, their Christmas sales were terrible because the Christmas shopping in the golf business is done by women, buying stuff for their husband. They don't know what to buy their husband, so they bought gift cards. And when they buy a $50 gift card instead of buying a $300 paying driver, sales are different. So I said, well, here's what we got to do, guys. We need to get guys in this store during Christmas for a non-sales environment to get them warmed up so they could tell their wife specifically what they want.
Yep.
And so we did a thing called Don't Winterize Your Golf Swing. It was 7 weeks from I think we started 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. It ended the week of Christmas. And the only goal was to do a free golf seminar with a different golf professional from a local golf course to bring men in. And we had our highest one. We had 150 dudes packed in for a golf seminar in December. And the one rule we had with everybody in the company was nobody here is allowed to sell people golf stuff.
Right.
I said, it's completely against what you're going to do. But the one guy, Coop, who was a hardcore sales guy, I said, Coop, you cannot attempt to sell anybody at this seminar anything.
Right.
We want them to be here and their mind be like, I'm in a golf store. I'm in the winter in a golf store because it's cold up here, not like in Miami. It's cold in the winter here.
Oh, it was a chilly 75 degrees today. It was so horrible.
Yeah. It was here. And I'm not being sold. And what ended up happening was they ended up selling more stuff because I actually heard that we did surveys of the customers. And they were like, that was weird. I come here for this free golf seminar. You guys provide a sandwich from Famous Dave's. I get an amazing seminar. I felt guilty not buying something, so I bought a new driver.
Yep.
And I think if you bring enough value to these prospects, these restaurant owners or chiropractors or whoever you're talking to, you can interview anybody. Mm-hmm. If you bring enough value, create a relationship, the whole time you're there, they're waiting for you to sell something.
Yep.
And the minute you don't, now they start wondering. One of my biggest clients I had for a long time, a car dealer, he called me up after 3 or 4 different communications back and forth on different things and goes, Matt, I don't know exactly what you do, but I think we need it. How much are you?
That's perfect.
And it was because I had never sold him.
So,
good.
So I was hoping, you've done a lot of these restaurant campaigns. You've seen it happen a million times. are there certain things that you're seeing like agencies or restaurant owners do with their Facebook ad campaigns that's making them bomb? Like I'm doing it right now. Like I've got a restaurant client and we're doing a happy birthday, like free entree. We're getting like 2 to 3 people a week coming in, but is that like bad? Is that good? Like what are agencies doing that like unintentionally or purposely it messes up their Facebook campaign? Do you have any like thoughts on that?
So the biggest negative with most Facebook campaigns is that the initial offer sucks.
Yeah.
Is that I think I did it this way. There was a business locally that I like a lot, and they sent me in an email a free dessert with a $50 purchase. Well, I've never been to their restaurant and spent under 100. Mm-hmm. You literally, if you go with 2 people, cannot spend under 50.
Yeah.
To me, you just gave me a coupon for my birthday. Hey, thanks a lot. A coupon. I can go get a coupon out of any freaking newspaper.
Yeah.
Whereas if you send me, hey, Matt, we want you to have the best restaurant experience ever on your birthday. We want you to come in for a free dessert, a free appetizer, and your steak is on us. Yeah. I'm not coming alone.
Yeah.
Period. And so I think that's the biggest mistake I see is that advertising agencies don't have the expertise or don't have the data to back up their claims to tell their restaurant client, you can't give me a shitty offer. Yeah. If we're going to get somebody, I just left the restaurant today where we've had 4,100, I think 4,132 people, I think was the number, have opted in, and 1,400 have walked in the restaurant, 30%. It's pretty good. So 31% of the people that have gotten the offer have walked in the restaurant. That's good because it's a 100% free item.
Yeah.
If it was a free appetizer with purchase of 2 entrees, from my research, we would have 30% less traffic and they spend less.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest problem that agencies are making is that they're not advising their clients that your offer sucks. And the biggest problem restaurant owners are having is that they're cheap as crap and they want to say, hey, I'm going to give out a free appetizer with purchase of 9 entrees, 2 drinks, a French fry, and a back rub from the guy in the parking lot. Yeah. And if you do that, then we'll give you a free appetizer. And what you've got to look at is you're bribing these people. Like we use messenger bots. How do I get somebody from a Facebook ad into Messenger and then also get their email? Yeah. It's not by saying, hey, here's a $5 off $800 coupon. I actually saw a coupon the other day. No lie. It was a free drink with a purchase of 2 entrees and 2 sides.
It's like, that's not that. Like I use the term, that's just not market competitive. Like nobody's going to get out of their seat and go to your restaurant if all you're doing is saying, I'm going to take $3 off your $1,000 bill. It's like, that's not a thing. That's like a waste of an opportunity. And so I actually learned from McKinsey, who runs the, it's called like the Happy Birthday campaign or something like that. Like the way Facebook works is like, it knows your birthday. And I, as the agency of a restaurant, can say, all right, great. Happy birthday, free entree, $16 or less. And the rest is on the house. But I had to pull tooth and nail to get him to agree to a market competitive move your butt offer. Because when it first came out, it was like 10% off. I was like, that doesn't even beat the restaurant down the street. So that was like a whole thing. But like I've seen things like you can only come in on Monday during lunch. It's like, okay, so nobody's coming in. Tax tag, title, valet not included. You can only do it between the hours of 12 and 1. And you can only sit in a service. I'm like, come on, man, like stop handicapping your own success.
Yeah. I tell my clients, like that's one of the big things we talk about when we start off is the relationship's got to start off that, like I had a client told us about a month ago. He wanted to change up a bunch of stuff. I said, let me ask you a question. Are you hiring me based off of the success in the case studies that I've already shown you? Yes. Then listen to my advice, not yours.
Yep.
And I tell them that hardcore. I've actually turned down clients. I say, we're not a good fit.
Yeah.
Because you want to save $1 and lose 10.
Yep.
Whereas on my standpoint, if I'm a restaurant, like I was telling a guy today, I'm trying to convince a restaurant of this right now. Dude, let's do a program. We've already seen everybody that comes in and redeems this dessert offer and this appetizer offer they already have, and he has a burger offer. They spend more than normal after the discount anyways.
Yep.
Give them the same offer every month.
Yep.
Hey, because you're a valid person, if you want to pay $10 a month and give us your email and your name, we're going to give you a free appetizer, free dessert, and a buy one, get one free burger every month at our restaurant. And they'll come in the restaurant. And so that's the biggest problem is that people want to be cheap on that. I always tell people, you can't bribe a cop. If you're in Mexico and you get pulled over and you show the cop $1, he's going to laugh at you. You show him a $100 bill. He's like, hey,
thanks,
KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. See you later. Yeah.
Very, very cool. I like that idea. Like it's always a fight, but the offer has to be market competitive or like get people to come in the door. We're coming down to the end. So ladies and gents, whoever's watching this, drop your questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, ideas. And then we're going to run through stuff real fast, and then we're going to do the strategy session with Matt. Matt has agreed to, which is I'm pretty excited about. Let's
and also
see.
I've got a don't let me forget, I've got a free bot they can have if they go to my Facebook page. We can do it later on, but they got a keyword they can put in my Facebook. It'll trigger a bot, and they'll get it's the digital business card collector. How a restaurant can, instead of having the old lame ass drop your card in here, how they can in-house create the scan codes, get people into a bot, get their information, and grow a database.
Very cool. Well, ladies and gents, if you're interested in that, just hashtag bot my face, right? That works, right? And then Matt will like jump on and like show you guys how to do all that stuff. So just hashtag bot my face. We'll make sure you're taken care of. Phil says no need to actually buy a blog. Just do a video interview and post to your Facebook, tag them. That's fair, right? That works out pretty well.
The thing I like about the blog though is it lends more credibility. Yeah. Like every video that I do is on. I have a Zap set up that when I upload I do almost all my stuff live, and when I put it on Facebook, I download it. So I love his idea there. But then I have a YouTube my YouTube channel. Whenever I upload a new public video to one, I have a couple different YouTube channels. It triggers a Zap that adds it to my WordPress blog and adds it to LinkedIn. And so it distributes it multiple places.
So are you just transcribing your video interviews and that's how you're filling in like the text of that, or you don't even bother with the text?
I don't bother with the text. We actually have a VA that we're probably by March going to hire to go back and do that. There's a lot of them. I mean, I do 5 to 10 videos. So I've done 3 today. Different videos, different places. But yeah, that's one of the tasks. I've got a VA that's going to be tasked with in the near future.
I've as I'm working out the third version of my book, I'm realizing that Tim Fair, he's done interviews, and then he just transcribes and documents those interviews, and that becomes his book. And so like I'm looking back at interviews I've had with like you and like people like in your space, I'm like, I should just start writing this stuff down. So like, it's only a matter of time.
The website, an easy one for short stuff, is rev.com. I don't know if you've ever seen that or not.
Rev.com. Yeah, that'll transcribe it. Yeah. That's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we're coming up on the top of the hour, and I always like closing things out an hour. Otherwise, like it's my way of being like respectful to people's times.
Definitely.
And so if you felt like Matt has helped you figure out the next step of your journey, helping you land the next restaurant client and showed you a way to shortcut your learning, he's actually agreed to 3 15-minute strategy sessions. So if you're interested in having a one-on-one or group time with Matt, and he'll answer your questions directly, help you figure out what you're looking for and how to get there faster, just hashtag MattMyFace, and I'll pick the top 3 people, and I'll do a group introduction, and you guys can have a group call with Matt Plapp, and he'll show you the restaurants, the case studies, the book, all that fun stuff. We didn't even get into your book. What is your book called? Tell me about it.
It's called Don't 86 Your Restaurant Sales. I should have a copy on it. I got a second book I'm working on now that'll be done, but it's called Don't 86 Your Restaurant Sales. And 86 in the restaurant business is something that's out. That if like you go to a restaurant tonight and they run out of bacon, the chef in the kitchen's like, hey, 86 bacon. Yep. So I did that from a standpoint of having a term that would relate to the restaurant people. And it's a book that walks through my digital program I have for restaurants. The second book I have coming out, which I've got structured and I'll have finished in 3 weeks. I'll be launching at the National Restaurant Show in May in Chicago. But that book is going to be my 8 strategies for restaurants to create their own radio station. And when I say create your own radio station, create your own audience of people that you can talk to. And that'll include, that'll be pretty cool because every chapter is going to have a different interview with a different restaurant that we deal with. That's going to have an interview with them about their business, but also a case study about how we use that tactic in their restaurant.
That's absolutely fantastic. I do want to say, apparently you're super famous. Not only, by the way, did you have like 194 comments on your hype post, but I think like 35 people have said Matt my face already. I'm going to make sure to connect Matthew Donovan, Martin Green, and Ferrari Watts. Those are the 3 people, the first 3 people to comment. I'll send a group chat and all that stuff between you and Matt Plapp. But are there any last questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, or closing ideas that if somebody's starting their Facebook ads journey and they're looking to get their first restaurant, what's like the last thing that they should know before we close up the interview?
Last thing they should know is that I wish I would have done early on was chronicle your journey with video.
Yep.
Constant Contact hired me and we did seminars for them around the Cincinnati region for 7 years. Never videotaped one of them. And did literally anywhere from 1 to 10 a month. Yeah. And I look back and I'm like when I told Billy that one of our first ever coaching sessions like 3 years ago, like I thought he was going to strangle me He's like, dude, you were Gary V before Gary V. I'm like, damn it.
So close.
Yeah. So I would say use video. Like today, I literally have done, I think actually maybe 4 or 5 videos today. And I have a couple of different groups for restaurants, for agencies, my own personal page, my brand page. Get out there, become visible, because the biggest thing that you don't realize, every one of us, I promise me, I bet on my friend list, I've got 5 to 10 people I don't realize have really solid connections to restaurant owners.
Yep.
It's just a matter of me being visible in the correct manner for them to trigger it. And the great example of that is 2 weeks ago, when I got to Denver, I've been on vacation 21 of the last 25 days. It's been, the business is running good. My mind got a little mushed, so I'm back at it now.
Yeah.
But on the second leg of our vacation in Denver 2 weeks ago, a girl named Kim Stoneham, who I grew up with, I went to high school with, we went on a couple of dates, sent me a message. I haven't talked to Kim in 15, 20 years. Sent me a message that, hey, our CEO is going to call you when you get back from Hawaii. He wants to talk to you about our restaurants. I'm like, oh, cool. Who's your CEO? What do you do? And she told me his name, and I'm like, I know him. I'm like, you work there? She's like, oh, yeah. This company owns like 200 hotels, 50 restaurants, casinos, and she is the executive secretary for the CEO. And she's like, and I'm like, what? I asked her, I said, what made you think of me? She goes, I love your videos, Matt. I watch them every time you go live.
Yeah.
And so my videos, when I say create content and video, don't sell, inform.
Yep.
I've done a video on everything that I do for my clients that you can literally probably go through all of my videos and piece together your own agency without even having to hire anybody or even hire me, because it's out there. I've already given the advice out, but do that and do it in a sincere, non-sales way. I had a guy the other day tell me he went through like the first 50 videos in my one group. He's like, Matt, one of the reasons I decided to get involved with you, I never saw you sell.
Yep.
And I think that's the biggest problem that we have. So create video for your agency, have conversations with your audience, and don't sell, because everybody's selling. Be a little different.
Very cool. With that, I'm bringing it to an end. Matt, don't hang up. I'm just going to close out the broadcast. I appreciate it. Great job. Everyone, kick ass, take some names. Matt, again, don't hang up. Thanks again, everybody, and I'll see you next week.